Hello, my name is Ben Keat, and I'm going to talk to you today about the Commonwealth of Eva. I've talked very extensively about the sort of thing Platform One Eva will entail, which is a variety of cosmic realities culminating in universal realities on Earth, which are, in the light of the reality of what Eva is, shall be such as the change in the landscape, the change in the buildings, a change in the way we do business, a change in the way we're educated, and a change in the way we perceive ourselves within the universe, being the crux of the whole thing, actually being a universal city in which we are endeavoring to get off the Earth and travel to new planets and visit other galaxies and solar systems um, all over the universe. Okay, so that's the reason for having a universal realm in the first place. It ties in with the Commonwealth of Eva to a large extent because the vast majority of people involved in the universal experience on this planet will not necessarily live in the location where Eva is. There will be large amounts of people who will be caught up in what some people would call a rapture to come to the epicenter of the whole project and live amongst us here in Gloucestershire and be part of Eva and the universal realm of Glasgow Ramsby or Able City. But the reality is going to be all over the earth in terms of where the universal infrastructure shall lie. The vast majority of people who are part of a psychical realm will actually be living in a location that is somewhere within the band of, say, the width of America across the whole planet, encompassing Europe, parts of Russia, parts of China, parts of maybe Japan, um, and some parts of the Middle East, and the rest of the world as it goes around the band, back to America and back to Europe. So this is potentially a vast area of change that is going to happen on the Earth. The location of Eva itself is the duality of Nibiru on Earth, but the other realms will all tie in, as I've said in a previous video, with the phases of the moons of Nibiru as they orbit the planet in an elliptical fashion at every possible depth and extension in distance from the planet itself. Now, the vast majority of these phases will encompass various areas on the planet for each individual moon. So this means that although, say for example, there is a moon Shivnarine in North Wales, which ultimately is the zone of third universal realm on Earth, as we go upwards in a upshift vertically to the future of universal realms, rather than being the era of the first universal realm, which will spread around this whole band across from America to Europe and back to America. Now, these phases will also reach zones and areas outside this band, and there will be few areas, particularly South Africa and the North Pole, which will encompass one of these moons in various phases as it travels across the Earth, always hitting the target where a location will become a safe haven and ultimately the reality of a charity life arc web system that shall be part of the exterior arc web of Eva, which shall reach parts of the Earth that not quite as densely populated, perhaps, as locations such as urban places such as London, New York, Tokyo, which may also be taken into consideration as universal realms, but not have the dense pleromagnetic change and upshift immediately as the first universal realms start to form. So as Nibiru comes, we will have what is in effect 9 moons of rolling spheres, which shall lay down safe havens all over the earth as a in a sort of uh, um, dual reality to what Nibiru is actually doing across the other side of the sun, where we often can't see her, with her moons as they rotate around her. The duality of the reality will display itself at every safe haven where a universal realm shall start to form itself. So at these universal realms, as the moons or the planet Nibiru um, moves in relation to the location where you are at, and as the moon itself moves, you will be able to see, in inverted commas, planets or planetoid systems that are viewed in relation from where you are living in this universal realm. And the first mission of all the space programs combined in the Commonwealth Life Arc Web are designed, or the Charity Life Arc Web, are designed to reach these planets and start colonizing these moons off-world as we see them disappear from the zone where they have solidified and created universal structure in our location. Because remembering that these zones are actually the inner Earths of these planetoids, including Nibiru and all the moons. So these locations are dense jungle, grassroots reality of living pleroma, and also modern, ancient, and super modern creativity of buildings and changes in the landscape and phenomena to do with supernatural occurrences in these locations that shall not be uh, uh, viewed or in that reality anywhere else on Earth. So the view from these Charity Life Arc Web locations, or these Commonwealth practices that are um, a revisitation of this moon as it continues its elliptical cycle around Nibiru, will be these planetoids moving around in a relation around themselves, or in view of themselves from the perspective of, say, a moon, rather than actually the central planet Nibiru having moons revolving around it. It will actually have a view of the planet which it is going around at a distance, and the reality of the moons. Now, the moon's space program naturally is going to be all about reaching the planet Nibiru and getting onto the actual surface of Nibiru and starting to build our own colonies and bringing our own stamp upon the reality of the surface of Nibiru. Whereas from Nibiru, the program will very much be more about getting involved with the different moons. There will be some transients between traveling from moon to moon, but reaching the solar system and the stars of our solar system from the universal realms to begin with will not be as easy as managing the system that is before us. And it should be much closer to us. If you think of the lamb, he has 7 horns and 7 eyes. Well, the 7 eyes are the 7 planets, or 7 moons that are in view of Nibiru, with the 9th one being at the location of the Arctic and South Africa in that elliptical cycle. So they shall not be in view from the planet Nibiru. And in this relationship, these moons shall move around the planet, and where they lay themselves down on the Earth as a practice, these shall become safe havens that shall then preoccupy their space program with trying to reach Nibiru, colonize Nibiru, and set up infrastructure on the planet's surface. Now, I talked about our local solar system, the solar system where we live, which is all part of the same solar system where Nibiru is. But in this relationship, the actual solar system reaching these stars and these planets, we are leaving purposefully to the space programs such as NASA, SpaceX, and possibly Jeff Bezos if he ever gets his act in order, to run their whole program of reaching our planets and our moon and doing an earthly space program that runs in tandem and very much in symmetry with what we are going to achieve from Nibiru and from the universal psychical realms. So each of these practices, where the safe havens cement themselves in the reality of the Earth, where the moons touch the planet, will all be different to a certain extent to the key practice of the inner Earth of Nibiru, as you'd expect, because in the reality of the universe, these planets would be occupied by different species of being who operate ultimately by going into the inner Earth to mine that inner Earth and to cause the reality of a safe haven within the planet when the planet started to destroy itself and the war in Nibiru happened. And the Anunnaki began to fight in tribes to annihilate each other with vast machines of war. So what we might in fact be experiencing when we try to colonize the surface of Nibiru and some of these moons will be desolate wastelands with architecture and infrastructure possibly visible but no longer in use. And it is our intent to revitalize the planet Nibiru, bring back its atmosphere, and also bring about the reality of atmospheres on these moons and a way of developing the surface of these moons from the perspective of actually Able City and the space program that we're offering, so the 7 moons that we have envisioned from us. But the reality of these platforms at the moons as they touch the Earth will be such that they will all be different to each other, and certainly different to Nibiru. Like I said, they will all have different leaders, different Pashtuns that will have run the process. We will have possibly different races of angel or extraterrestrial in these locations. And it is our intent to bring about a super reality that links the whole network across the Earth as it crosses the Earth, to bring about stability and a common consensus of bringing peace and keeping war down through the power that we have through our technology and our machines, to ensure that if war does happen, we will have to confront the demonic forces and take them out quickly without so much as an issue to our own safety, but perhaps more of an issue in protecting those who we deem to be worthy of protection and vulnerable and who we choose to protect. So this is the change that's going to happen as we progress into the Nibiru space program, which is the whole concept of the Commonwealth of Eva. And it is mainly there to stabilize the planet, to prevent war, and to bring about peace across the Earth to the extent that we can then move forward to the next level of universal creation, which brings us up to the northern climes near the Arctic Circle, certainly in the Arctic Circle, where we will bring about the second reality of universal construction, which will bring about a wider reaching area, possibly a different part of the galaxy. I'm thinking about the Pleiades actually being the link between the second realm of the universe, which will be in the Arctic Circle. That is the Pleiadian reality, where the cosmic reality will align such that we will then have a duality of universal representation on the planet in symbiosis, operating at different spheres and different levels without actually infringing upon the reality of the whole underpinning structure of Nibiru lunar and planet enforcement of peace upon the Earth and stability of the planet. Thank you.